Guys, it's me here, Connal Finlay, the owner and director of the Cellar store in New Zealand, and welcome to today's episode of the Cellar TV. Again, it's going to be one of our fantastic little e-tasting notes or video tasting notes, and what we're going to be trying today is this absolutely incredible and rather interesting white wine here. It's from California in Santa Barbara County, or in particular the Santa Maria Valley, and it's from one of our favorite producers, Bon Climat, or what we affectionately call them is just ABC, not to be confused with, of course, anything but Chardonnay movement. That's something else all completely. But this is ABC. This is their 2013 Hildegard. And just a little close-up there on the label. Some of you are probably familiar with ABC or Bon Climat from California. They're known all around the world, especially also in Europe, actually, where they've got quite a large sort of standing and quite a large sort of retail and consumer base there, and they're known for their Chardonnays and their Pinot Noirs, made very much in that sort of Burgundian sort of style, so not necessarily that big, obviously oaky and big fruit-forward sort of fruit bombs that you would usually expect from Californian Chardonnay, or Pinot Noir for that matter. So they are a little bit more sort of old world in style. And so that being said, obviously, if you're sort of familiar with your grape varietals, Chardonnay and Pinot Noir being the two leading grape varietals of Burgundy. And what's quite interesting about this is this was also Burgundian grape varietals as well, but ones that you don't necessarily hear about. So this particular vintage, it's 50% Pinot Gris, 40% Pinot Blanc, and another 10% Aligote. And so it's actually quite a lovely little aromatic white wine. And of course having that Pinot Gris sort of base, so it's quite fleshy, quite juicy and rich. And I absolutely love it. So if you're a big Chardonnay sort of fan or a Pinot Gris sort of fan, this is absolutely for you. And it's just gorgeous. Anyway, let's sort of give it a sniff. I love this wine. And what's quite interesting about this is that it's a Pinot Gris, thanks to the small addition of Aligote and sort of the acid sort of structure here. It actually ages quite well, where most Pinot Gris I wouldn't really recommend, unless it's sort of a sweet Pinot Gris, I wouldn't usually recommend having a Pinot Gris in your cellar much longer than sort of 3 years, 4 years perhaps, if that. Because they are usually a little bit more sort of fruit forward and made to be drinking early, whereas this wine can age, and I have had aged wines of this for up to about 10 years, the Hildegard, and still drinking beautifully. Anyway, get back to that sniff, eh? So the nose, it's very complex. Now this particular bottle, well, not this one, because this one's just for show, but the one that we poured this out of, the Hildegard, we've had this decanted now for about an hour and a half or so. And again, for something a little bit more complex, a little bit more interesting, and of that sort of higher quality, I always recommend decanting. White wine, red wine, sparkling wine, whatever. If you want to make sure you're getting the absolute best and the absolute most out of your wines, then yes, decant it, because that oxidation process that sort of helps to open up all those aromatics. So on the nose here, very complex, as I was saying. So you've got peaches, you've got pears, you've got apples, and this lovely sort of lemon curd, mandarin sort of flavour. But also this sort of light honeyed and light clover honey, those sort of white honey, those sort of creamed honey sort of characteristics there, and there's sort of, again, a slight minerality here, but there's also a touch of Cellar action here. So lees have actually been in contact with this wine, and also some slight oak characteristics here as well. So you are getting these sort of subtle vanilla and sort of creamy aspects as well on the nose, which is just lovely. So it all sort of ties it in together. You can definitely see how this is inspired and influenced by Burgundian white wines. Anyway, let's give it a taste, shall we? So here it is rich, and if you are used to drinking quite full-bodied Pinot Gris or Chardonnays or Pinot Blanc for that matter, because there is 40% of it, don't forget, in here, it is quite rich and textural and filling, as it were, on the palate. So it is very, very exciting. And again, a lot of those sort of those primary fruit characteristics coming through, all those beautiful sort of peaches and nectarine sort of flavors are coming through. but a lot more of those creamy and sort of nutty texture, or flavors I should say, are coming through on the palate here as well. So a lot more sort of blanched almond and this lovely sort of, as I say, sort of creamy, vanilla butter sort of flavors are coming through. And on the palate, there is a beautiful little bit of acidity there, sort of waking it all up. But overall, it is sort of overarchingly creamy and just juicy and rich. It's absolutely lovely. So, yes, anyway, this has been the ABC, the Hildegard, the 2013 vintage. Absolutely fantastic. I'm pretty sure online it's about $60 a bottle, and for this sort of quality, it's an absolute steal. And as I say, cellar up for 10 years. As long as you've got a good cellar, as in good cellar conditions, this is going to age beautifully for the next decade or so. So, of course, like, comment, subscribe. Tell us if you've tried this wine, if you've tried any of the other Bon Climat wines, if you're a big Jim Clendenen fan like we are. We absolutely are. Everyone here in the office is. And yeah, tell us if you've got any other sort of Californian wines that you like, and share around. And of course, please subscribe and tell all your other wine loving friends and family. But of course, first and foremost, cheers.